So in a previous update, when it came to CustomCutter, we had changed some of the keying around in order to make it behave a little bit more optimal when it comes to shift to live. So basically you could draw a shape that's custom, and by holding shift you can constrain it to 1:1, and then on the extrude, if you wanted to get it 1:1, you would basically hold control and it would actually allow you to constrain it to the 1:1 resolution. So that way you could just draw shapes that are perfect. But we see that having it on shift was a mistake, because having a 1:1 custom draw is going to result in you having a shift repeat or shift to live situation happening. So we don't actually want that. So here I'm just showing how it used to be in Boxcutter, where basically I would draw a shape, and if I wanted it to be 1:1, I would have to reach down at my keyboard and hold shift. And then during extrude, I would also need to either hold down shift if I'm using a version this old, or control if you're using a later version, and this is really no way to work. So now in this version, Boxcutter finally has its counterpart, which is auto custom. So by activating automatic proportions via the toggle in the shape area, we can now draw custom 1:1, and even if you click and apply, it will now draw it with 1:1 to 1. So exactly XY and exactly on the Z to give you the proper amount of depth, just taking out all the keystrokes that are required for custom. And this is definitely the way that custom was always supposed to be. And I'm quite proud of Boxcutter finally getting to this moment, because I've always said that custom has too many keystrokes involved in order to get to this process. And really the goal with custom is to replicate the shapes that you've extracted, not so much to make custom shapes of varying dimensions and depth. But if you do want to do that, you definitely want some system of constraints in place in order to just get it absolutely right. So I'm not even having to reach on my keyboard to press shift or anything whenever we're in automatic proportions mode. It just works. And not to sound like Todd Howard, but I've checked it from top to bottom. It works with everything from release lock, meaning you can just click and drag, create a 1:1 shape, click and be done without even having to be over your mesh. Or you can just click, begin the extrusion process in order to override the rules of the calculated depth to get something a little more custom. But you could also press Alt to release the automatic extrude system and bring it back to the defaults. And just by clicking and applying, we've now jumped this to its automatic depth without having to press any additional keys. So this is a big thing for me. Just keeps things a lot simpler whenever it comes to Boxcutter. So if we press D, we also see that line box is still there, where you can draw shapes in a line. And line box is also improved by the ability to work with automatic proportions. So if we draw a line, we see that it just jumps out 1:1, and we can just click and apply and be done. And the most curious thing about it is if we get it on the wrong side, we just move our mouse and it will automatically flip it, just allowing us to click to drop it in the state, and then we could just click to apply. So if we turn off release lock, it actually gets a lot faster, and we just click and we're done. Get it on the side that we want and flip it if we need to, and just like that we are able to just quickly get in and draw these shapes 1:1. And right now I'm showing them in the context of just the Boxcutter logo, but with any custom shape this is now possible. So if you cut a complex series and you extract it, you can just repeat it very easily and have your depth automatically taken into account, just making your life easier.